Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we've got a really interesting set of sources to get into, all focused on the WebAuth Wallet from Metallicus.
That's right. And it's not just any wallet. The central claim here is a big one.
A very big one. They're calling it the new gold standard of self-custody. That's a pretty charged statement.
It absolutely is. It raises the bar for everyone. So our mission today is to, get past the marketing hype and really break down the architecture.
Is it actually a breakthrough?
Well, that's the question. The sources define it as a bank-grade digital vault. It's supposedly engineered for speed, top-tier security, U.S. compliance, and this is the key part, really seamless usability.
Right, and that gets to the core problem in all of decentralized finance, doesn't it? How do you give someone total control, true self-custody, without making them learn a whole new, very complex job as a security expert?
Exactly. The current system, it's all about these complex seed phrases. And that creates so much friction, so much risk.
The philosophy here seems to be about flipping that.
It is. Protect the user, empower the user, but you have to eliminate those friction points, especially around managing your own keys.
Which brings us to the elephant in the room. If they're claiming a new gold standard, they must have a solution for the seed phrase problem.
They have to.
That's the source of panic for almost every single crypto user. Just the thought of losing those 12 or 24 words.
It's the Achilles heel.
Yeah.
And WebAuth's whole approach seems to be a complete redesign of that interaction. They replace the seed phrase model entirely.
So what's the alternative?
Instead, you hold your own private keys right there on your device, and they're secured by advanced hardware-backed authentication that you're probably already familiar with.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this right, they're using some pretty high-end cryptography to hide all the hard stuff behind a simple interface.
That's it.
It looks and feels easy, but the engine underneath is like military grade.
That's the synthesis, yeah. And what's really fascinating is how they layer the security. It's not just one thing. There are 3 main layers of protection, all on device.
Okay, let's break those down. What's layer 1?
First, you've got the simplest layer, biometrics, things like Face ID, or Touch ID.
The stuff you already use for your banking app makes sense.
Exactly. It's familiar, it's trusted, but that's just the starting point.
So what's the next layer? What separates this from, say, just a good password manager?
This is the critical piece. Hardware-secured key generation.
Okay, what does that mean in simple terms?
So your phone or your device, it has this special isolated chip inside the processor. It's often called a secure element. When WebAuth creates your private key, it happens inside this hardware vault.
And it stays there.
It never leaves, ever. That means it's incredibly resistant to malware, to phishing, to remote attacks. It's like having a bank safe deposit box physically built into the silicon of your phone.
Wow. Okay, that is a big deal. And the third layer?
The third layer is about decentralized signing standards. This is more on the technical side, but it basically ensures that the act of approving a transaction, the signing, is handled securely and in a standardized way across different platforms.
So it's the mechanism that turns my fingerprint scan into a final, unforgeable confirmation on the blockchain.
You've got it. It translates that simple biometric approval into pure cryptography.
The whole idea then is that the scary part, managing a private key, is just handled. It's abstracted away by tech we already use every day.
Right. That focus on the user experience, the UI UX, is so important if you want anyone outside of the hardcore crypto community to adopt it.
It has to be. The sources even say the UI UX isn't just a bonus feature, it's a security feature in itself.
Absolutely. They describe it as looking like a next-gen fintech app.
Yeah.
Clean, fast, intuitive. Not the clunky, chaotic UX of most wallets that we're all used to.
Which leads to user error.
It always does. If an interface is confusing, people make mistakes. And in crypto, mistakes cost real money. So things like streamlined onboarding, faster signing, that's all part of building that bank-grade trust.
Okay, so the security is tight. But what good is a wallet if getting your actual money into it is a nightmare? That's always been the problem, that gap between your dollars and your keys.
The fiat on-ramp problem.
Exactly. How do you bridge traditional finance?
This is where it gets really compelling. The Q2 2025 Metallicus report goes into a lot of detail here. They seem to have built one of the cleanest, most compliant fiat to self-custody flows in the US.
So what does that look like for a user?
We're talking seamless transfers from your bank account directly into your WebAuth wallet using a standard debit or credit card.
Wait a second. If I use my card to buy crypto and it lands instantly in my wallet, how do they get rid of the custodial risk?
That's a great question.
Because usually there's an exchange in the middle, right? Someone holding the funds for a bit to handle things like fraud or chargebacks.
There is. But the source stresses that the way their ecosystem is engineered, the user buys the crypto and is received directly in WebAuth. There's no middleman holding the assets custodially during that transfer.
So how do they manage that risk?
It's managed upstream. The entire architecture, the whole system, is built on a decade of compliance work. KYC, AML, all of that is foundational to the system, not an add-on.
So it's the design itself. It's not an app that's just bolted onto a centralized service. The whole flow was designed around U.S. regulations from day one.
Precisely. They started with the regulatory requirements and built the self-custody solution outward from there. That regulatory-first design is what lets them do this without compromising on the self-custody part.
For a bank or an institution, that must be a massive selling point. It takes away a huge chunk of the whisk.
It's a huge differentiator, just removes so many of the adoption headaches that you see with other wallets.
And once you have that compliant foundation, you can start building out. WebAuth isn't just for one blockchain, is it? The sources are clear that the future is multi-chain.
That's the critical next step. They're positioning WebAuth as the key to their entire interconnected network, which they call TDBN.
TDBN, the Metallicus digital banking network.
Right. And for anyone not familiar, TDBN is basically the umbrella that connects all their services. MetalPay for consumers, MetalX for trading, their loan protocol, the Metal Dollar stable asset, all of it.
So WebAuth is the front door. It's the single key to this entire compliant ecosystem.
Correct. And to do that, it has to be flexible. So they're expanding multi-chain support very quickly and unifying it all under that one secure WebAuth standard.
Which chains are we talking about?
Well, their native metal blockchain, of course.
Yeah.
The XPR network. And then they're bringing in the big external ones like Bitcoin, XRP, and Hedera.
Why is that so significant, unifying chains like Bitcoin and Hedera under one model? Why not just use different wallets?
It solves two huge problems: developer fatigue and asset fragmentation.
Go on.
If you're a developer building a fintech app, you want things to be consistent. Using one authentication model simplifies everything: bridging assets, signing transactions, security policies. It works the same across these very different blockchains.
And for the user?
For the user, it means the security they trust for their Bitcoin is the exact same security they have for their assets on the XPR network. It's seamless. It's consistent.
That consistency must be essential as WebAuth grows from just a wallet into, well, a full dashboard for everything.
And that's where all the upcoming tools come in. The roadmap basically turns WebAuth into a unified management system. It merges your traditional finance functions with all these new decentralized capabilities.
So things like staking.
Yes, metal blockchain staking, subnet management, governance tools. All of that will be right there in the app.
And the sources mentioned more complex interactions too, didn't they? With smart contracts?
Absolutely. They're adding the ability to interact directly with PulseVM smart contract.
And PulseVM is?
Think of it as the metal blockchain's version of the Ethereum virtual machine, the EVM. But it's optimized for high performance and, crucially, for compliant operations. So WebAuth becomes the simple, secure interface you use to manage assets, vote on proposals, and even execute complex smart contract functions.
So this is clearly built for a much broader market than just the early adopters. You mentioned institutional readiness. Who exactly is the target here?
This is explicitly not a hobby project. It was built for scale. The user base includes banks and credit unions doing pilots, fintechs who need a compliant self-custody solution.
Developers building regulated apps.
Exactly. And of course, everyday crypto users. The sources even mention that institutions in the Metallicus Innovation Program are already using WebAuth for their blockchain pilots.
You know, if you're a bank trying to manage digital assets, that fragmentation we talked about is a killer.
Which brings me back to the user experience, specifically portfolio management.
The consolidated portfolio view. Yeah, that feature, which they talked about in the Q2 report, is arguably one of the most important things for institutional adoption.
What does it promise?
It promises one consolidated balance across all of your accounts, across every supported blockchain, and even across all their subnets.
One clean interface for everything. That's essential for any enterprise. Having assets scattered across 10 different apps is an auditor's nightmare.
It's an immediate risk. And to support that kind of institutional scale, the developer side has to be just as streamlined.
So how easy is it for developers to build on top of all this? Well, they're pushing out big updates to the Web SDK, the WharfKit plugin, and the Proton CLI. Think of these as a complete toolkit that lets a developer plug WebAuth security and multi-chain support into their own app with, Minimal effort.
They mentioned a single line of code.
Often, yeah. The point is that any app built on the TDBN network immediately inherits all the security standards, the instant signing, and the compliance APIs of WebAuth. It's built in.
Okay, so if we pull everything together, the biometric security, getting rid of the seed phrase, the seamless and compliant fiat bridge, this multi-chain dashboard, what's the final verdict? Is it the new gold standard?
Based on the material we have, the verdict is that WebAuth really is the secure bank-ready interface, the front door, that connects this whole vertically integrated ecosystem that Metallicus has built.
And by putting security and compliance first, instead of just decentralization, they've solved for a different audience.
They've solved for institutional trust, while at the same time delivering consumer simplicity.
So it seems they really have delivered on the promises the sources laid out. True self-sovereignty, institutional-grade security, simplicity, interoperability, and that seamless access to traditional finance.
It sets a formidable new benchmark, which, leaves us with our final provocative thought for you to consider.
Let's hear it.
Given that this entire architecture was engineered from the ground up to satisfy U.S. regulatory standards, and that's a direct result of that decade of compliance heritage, how profoundly might this shift institutional strategies? Away from solutions that focused on the tech first and are now trying to tackle compliance as an afterthought.
That is the ultimate test for the future of digital asset adoption. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the WebAuth Wallet. We'll see you next time.